Ladies and gentlemen, listen up. This is going to hit hard, but it's exactly what you need to hear. Too many men out here are living life like they're waiting for permission, waiting to be chosen, waiting to be liked, waiting to be the nice guy that a woman finally notices. But let me tell you something. Being nice doesn't make you a priority. It makes you an option. Too many men walk through life seeking validation, especially when it comes to women. They shape their actions, words, and even personalities around what they think will be most pleasing, most acceptable, most likable. They crave approval, waiting for someone to tell them they are good enough, worthy enough, desirable enough. But this constant need for validation is exactly what keeps them stuck, frustrated, and unfulfilled. Because the truth is, the moment you rely on external approval to feel valuable, you've already lost control over your own worth. When a man seeks validation from a woman, he unknowingly places her above himself. He starts adjusting his behavior, filtering his words, and playing it safe just to avoid rejection. He thinks that by being agreeable and accommodating, he will earn affection. But in reality, he is only weakening his own position. The second a woman senses that a man needs her validation, the attraction diminishes. Why? Because confidence isn't built on external approval, it's built on internal certainty. A man who knows his worth doesn't need constant reassurance. He operates from a place of strength, not desperation. This mindset of seeking validation often stems from a deeper insecurity. It comes from believing that one's value is dependent on how others perceive them. This is why so many men overcompensate, trying to be extra nice, overly accommodating, and constantly available. They believe that if they can just prove how great they are, they will finally get the recognition they crave. But attraction doesn't work that way. Attraction is not a reward for good behavior. It's a response to strength, to authenticity, to a man who doesn't need approval because he already knows his own worth. Men who seek validation tend to overthink every interaction. They hesitate before texting back, wondering what the perfect response should be. They analyze every detail of a conversation, questioning if they said the right thing. They worry about how they are being perceived rather than focusing on how they actually feel. This overanalysis kills confidence. Confidence comes from acting with certainty, not from constantly second-guessing yourself. The more a man tries to engineer the right outcome, the more he loses the natural flow of his own masculinity. True self-worth is built internally, not externally. It's about knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you bring to the table, without needing someone else to confirm it for you. A man who understands this moves differently. He doesn't seek permission to be himself. He doesn't need a woman's validation to feel complete. He knows his value, and because of that, others recognize it too. The irony is that the moment a man stops seeking validation, he naturally becomes more attractive. He no longer operates from a place of neediness. He speaks his mind without fear of rejection. He walks away from situations that don't align with his values. This level of self-assurance is magnetic because it shows strength. Women are drawn to men who stand firm in who they are, not men who are waiting to be chosen. Seeking validation puts a man in a position of chasing instead of leading. It makes him reactive instead of proactive. A man who constantly looks for approval will always be at the mercy of others. He will never feel fully secure because his confidence is based on something outside of himself. But when he realizes that he is enough on his own, everything shifts. He stops trying to impress and starts focusing on expressing. He stops chasing approval and starts commanding respect. This shift is powerful, but it requires deep self-awareness. It requires letting go of the need to be liked and embracing the fact that not everyone will approve of you. And that's okay. Strength isn't about being universally accepted. Strength is about standing firm in your truth, even if it means standing alone. And when a man truly understands this, he no longer seeks validation. He becomes the source of his own worth. A lot of men grow up believing that being nice is the key to winning over a woman. They are taught that if they are polite, accommodating, and always putting her needs above their own, she will eventually see their value and choose them. But that's not how attraction works. Being nice does not make a man desirable. It makes him predictable, unchallenging, and in many cases, forgettable. Women do not respond to niceness the way men expect them to because attraction is not built on politeness alone. It is built on confidence, presence, and the ability to stand firm in who you are. The problem with being too nice is that it often comes from a place of fear rather than genuine kindness. Many men are not being nice because they truly care about the other person. They are being nice because they are afraid of rejection. They avoid conflict, suppress their own opinions, and go along with whatever she wants, thinking that this will make them more appealing. But in reality, this behavior makes them seem weak. A woman doesn't respect a man who bends over backward to please her. She respects a man who has a backbone, who can say no, and who values himself enough to set boundaries. Niceness, when it is driven by a need for approval, comes across as inauthentic. Women can sense when a man is being overly agreeable just to stay on their good side. They can tell when he is holding back his true thoughts out of fear of rocking the boat. This is not attractive because it doesn't create real emotional tension. Attraction thrives on polarity, on a dynamic where a man is fully in his own energy, unafraid to challenge, lead, or express his own desires. When a man is simply being nice to avoid conflict, he is not bringing anything interesting to the interaction. He is blending into the background, becoming just another guy who is sweet but forgettable. Men who rely on niceness as their main strategy often struggle with frustration. They wonder why the women they are interested in always seem to choose someone else. They question why they keep getting stuck in the friend zone while watching other men who seem to put in far less effort get the relationships they desire. The answer is simple. Women do not choose partners based on who is the most accommodating. They choose men who are decisive, who take action, who are willing to lead instead of waiting to be chosen. Being nice does not create attraction, because attraction is not logical. Women do not sit down and make a list of the nicest men and then pick from them. Attraction is an emotional response, and that response is triggered by qualities like strength, mystery, confidence, and the ability to handle challenges. A man who is always nice, always available, and always agreeable does not create that emotional spark. He becomes predictable, and predictability kills excitement. A man who truly respects himself does not need to rely on excessive niceness to prove his worth. He knows that his value is not dependent on how much he can cater to a woman's needs. He does not try to win someone over by suppressing his own desires or molding himself into what he thinks she wants. Instead, he stands firm in who he is, unafraid to set boundaries, to disagree, or to challenge her in a way that creates genuine chemistry. Women may appreciate kindness, but they are not attracted to weakness. They want a man who is kind and strong, someone who can lead rather than follow, someone who offers more than just passive agreement. Men who rely on being nice as their main attraction strategy often miss this crucial point. They confuse being pleasant with being desirable, not realizing that true attraction comes from confidence, authenticity, and the ability to stand firm in who you are. Most men who struggle in relationships fail to understand the power of setting boundaries. They believe that if they give enough, sacrifice enough, and tolerate enough, they will eventually be rewarded with love and appreciation. But the reality is, when a man does not set boundaries, he teaches others that his time, energy, and emotions are not valuable. He signals that he can be walked over, manipulated, and taken for granted. Without boundaries, respect is lost, and without respect, attraction fades. A man without boundaries often finds himself in situations where he is constantly giving but receiving very little in return. He allows behavior that makes him uncomfortable, ignores red flags, and tolerates disrespect because he is afraid of losing the woman he desires. He believes that by being overly accommodating, he will be seen as caring and supportive. But what really happens is that he becomes easy to manipulate. When a man has no boundaries, a woman may test him, push him, and see just how far he will go to prove himself. If he continues to tolerate everything without standing up for himself, she loses respect for him. Respect and attraction are closely linked. Women are naturally drawn to men who know their worth, who stand firm in their values, and who are not afraid to walk away from situations that do not serve them. A man who allows himself to be disrespected, even in small ways, sends the message that he does not respect himself, and if he does not respect himself, why should she? Women may not always vocalize this, but they feel it. They sense when a man lacks the confidence to enforce his own standards. They recognize when he is afraid to say no, and they subconsciously lose interest. Setting boundaries is not about being controlling or demanding. It is about knowing what is acceptable and what is not. It is about having a clear sense of self-worth and refusing to tolerate anything that contradicts it. A man with strong boundaries does not engage in endless texting with a woman who shows no real interest. He does not chase someone who constantly cancels plans or plays games. He does not allow himself to be emotionally drained by someone who only takes but never gives. He recognizes when a situation is no longer serving him, and he has the strength to step away without hesitation. When a man sets boundaries, he shifts the power dynamic. He is no longer seeking approval or trying to be liked. He is focused on his own growth, his own happiness, and his own self-respect. He understands that not everyone will align with his standards, and that is okay. He is not trying to fit into someone else's expectations. He is living by his own. And because of that, he naturally attracts people who respect him, admire him, and see his value without him having to prove it. Many men fear setting boundaries because they think it will drive women away. They believe that if they say no, stand their ground, or demand respect, they will be seen as difficult or unlikable. But the opposite is true. Women are drawn to men who have self-respect, who are not afraid to take a stand, and who refuse to compromise their values just to keep someone around. A man who enforces boundaries shows that he is in control of his life. He is not desperate for approval. He is not willing to tolerate disrespect just to maintain a connection. And that level of confidence is incredibly attractive. Setting boundaries is not about confrontation. It is about clarity. It is about knowing who you are, what you deserve, and refusing to accept anything less. It is about valuing your time, your energy, and your emotions enough to protect them. A man who sets boundaries operates from a place of strength. He does not need to demand respect. He commands it through his actions. Most men have been conditioned to believe that they need to chase women in order to win them over. They think that if they pursue hard enough, stay persistent, and show relentless interest, they will eventually earn the affection they desire. But this mindset is completely backward. A high-value man does not chase, he leads. He does not waste time running after someone who is unsure about him. Instead, he focuses on his mission, his purpose, and his own growth, allowing the right people to naturally align with him. A man who chases puts himself in a position of weakness. He is signaling that he needs the woman more than she needs him. He constantly initiates, constantly follows up, and constantly tries to prove himself. This approach creates a dynamic where the woman holds all the power while he is left scrambling for her attention. Women do not respond positively to this kind of behavior because it lacks confidence. A man who chases is essentially saying, "I am not enough as I am, so I must work extra hard to convince you to choose me." That energy is unattractive. It feels desperate. It makes him seem like just another guy trying to win her approval. A leader, on the other hand, operates from a completely different mindset. He does not view attraction as something he has to earn through excessive effort. He understands that his value does not come from how much he chases, but from who he is as a person. His focus is not on winning over a woman, but on becoming the best version of himself. He is working toward his goals, improving himself physically, mentally, and emotionally, and creating a life that others naturally want to be a part of. Because of this, he does not feel the need to pursue anyone who is not equally invested in him. He understands that attraction should be mutual, not one-sided. Women are drawn to men who have a clear sense of direction. They want someone who is driven, passionate, and purpose-focused. A man who is constantly chasing gives the impression that he has nothing better to do, that his highest priority is securing a relationship rather than building a strong foundation for himself. This makes him less desirable because it shows a lack of independence. Women do not want to be a man's entire world. They want to be a part of a world that is already exciting, fulfilling, and meaningful. When a man leads instead of chases, he sets the standard. He is not begging for time or attention. He is not sending multiple unanswered texts, waiting around for a response, or adjusting his schedule just to accommodate someone who is giving him minimal effort. He moves with certainty. He is clear about what he wants, and if someone is not reciprocating, he has no problem walking away. This level of self-assurance makes him stand out because it is rare. Most men are too afraid to step back when they are not getting the energy they deserve. They cling to false hope, thinking that if they just try harder, things will eventually change. But a leader does not operate on hope. He operates on action. By leading instead of chasing, a man naturally commands respect. Women see him differently because he is not desperate for validation. He is selective about who he allows into his life. He does not try to force connections or prove his worth. Instead, he allows his actions, his mindset, and his way of living to speak for itself. And because of that, the right people gravitate toward him without him having to chase. Confidence is one of the most attractive traits a man can have, yet so many men make the mistake of thinking that compliments, excessive praise, and constant approval seeking will make a woman interested in them. They believe that if they shower her with attention, remind her of how beautiful she is, and always put her on a pedestal, she will see them as valuable. But the reality is, confidence will always be more powerful than compliments. A man who understands his worth does not rely on words to prove it. His presence, his energy, and his self-assurance speak louder than anything he could say. Men who overuse compliments often do so from a place of insecurity. They think that by constantly reassuring a woman of her beauty or worth, she will feel obligated to return that same validation. But what happens instead is that the compliments lose their impact. When a man excessively praises a woman, it no longer feels genuine. It starts to feel like flattery with an agenda. Women can sense when a man is being overly complimentary because he wants something in return, and this kind of energy does not create attraction. It creates a dynamic where the man seems as if he is trying too hard, as if he is seeking approval rather than leading with confidence. A man who is truly confident does not need to rely on words to create attraction. He knows that his presence alone is enough. He does not feel the need to constantly remind a woman of her beauty because he assumes she already knows it. He is secure enough in himself that he does not have to use excessive validation as a way to earn favor. This kind of confidence is rare, and because it is rare, it is powerful. Women are drawn to men who do not feel the need to overcompensate, men who can hold their own without feeling the urge to prove their worth through empty flattery. When a man leads with confidence instead of compliments, his interactions feel different. He is not anxiously waiting for a reaction to his words. He is not hoping that his praise will earn him affection. He is fully present in himself, engaged in the moment, and unafraid to express his thoughts without seeking validation in return. Women notice this kind of energy immediately because it is refreshing. It does not come across as needy or desperate. It comes across as certain and self-assured. Men who rely on compliments often fall into the trap of thinking that words alone can create emotional connection. They believe that if they just say the right thing, they can unlock attraction. But attraction is not built on words. It is built on energy, on confidence, on the way a man carries himself. A woman is far more likely to be drawn to a man who speaks with certainty, who maintains strong eye contact, who stands with good posture, and who moves with purpose than a man who simply bombards her with praise. Another mistake men make is thinking that women value words over actions. Compliments are easy to give, but confidence is something that must be lived. A man can tell a woman how amazing she is all day long, but if his actions do not align with his words, those compliments mean nothing. A confident man does not just talk, he demonstrates his worth through his actions, his choices, and the way he moves through life. He does not rely on validation because he already knows who he is. The key is balance. Compliments are not inherently bad, but they should never be a man's primary strategy for attraction. When given sparingly and sincerely, they can enhance a connection. But when overused, they lose their meaning and make a man appear as though he is trying too hard. A truly confident man does not need to rely on constant praise to make an impression. His confidence speaks for itself, and that alone makes him stand out. Many men make the mistake of thinking that the more available they are, the more desirable they will become. They believe that if they always say yes, respond instantly, and rearrange their entire schedule to accommodate a woman, she will appreciate their effort and reciprocate the same level of interest. But the truth is, constantly being available does not create attraction, it destroys it. When a man is too accessible, too eager, and too quick to drop everything for a woman, he loses a key element of desirability: mystery. Women are not drawn to men who are always waiting by their phone, ready to respond at a moment's notice. They are not intrigued by men who make themselves too easy to get. A man who is always available sends the message that he has nothing else going on, that he is not busy, not focused, and not pursuing anything meaningful in his life. When a woman sees that a man is constantly at her beck and call, she subconsciously starts to devalue him. She begins to assume that his time is not valuable, and if his time is not valuable, then he must not be valuable. A man who understands attraction knows that scarcity increases value. Think about the things in life that people desire most: exclusive events, high-end products, rare opportunities. These things are not easily accessible. They require effort, patience, and the right circumstances. The same principle applies to attraction. When a man is selective with his time and attention, he becomes more intriguing. When he is not always immediately available, it creates a sense of anticipation. That anticipation builds excitement, and excitement fuels attraction. Many men fear that if they do not respond quickly, or if they do not make themselves overly available, a woman will lose interest. But the reality is, attraction grows in space, not in constant contact. When a man is always present, always initiating, and always seeking interaction, he removes the natural tension that creates desire. A woman needs time to think about him, to wonder what he is doing, to miss him. If she always knows where he is, what he is doing, and that he is just a message away, there is no room for curiosity. And without curiosity, attraction fades. Being unavailable does not mean playing games or intentionally ignoring someone to manipulate their interest. It means having a life that is fulfilling outside of any romantic connection. A man who is truly high value does not need to pretend to be busy. He actually is busy. He is working on his goals, investing in himself, and staying focused on his own path. His time is not something he gives away freely to just anyone. When he does give his time, it is because he chooses to, not because he is desperate for attention or afraid of losing someone. Women respect men who have a purpose beyond them. They admire men who are driven, who have ambition, and who are not easily distracted from their mission. A man who is constantly available comes across as someone who lacks direction, someone whose biggest priority is seeking approval rather than building something meaningful for himself. But a man who moves with intention, who prioritizes his goals, and who does not revolve his entire world around a woman, naturally commands respect. Availability is not about being rude or distant, it is about balance. A man who is always there, always eager, and always seeking interaction does not create the kind of challenge that excites a woman. But a man who values his own time, who is selective about where he invests his energy, and who remains focused on his own growth becomes someone worth pursuing. Attraction is not about giving everything away, it is about maintaining just enough space to make someone want to come closer.